Hey, what's going on? It's Atu here, and here to give you my thoughts on movies number 20 and 21 from the new boutique Blu-ray label from Viavision Australia, Imprint. Now, they released in Wave 3, Wave 3, they released the Essential Film Noir Collection 1, which was a selection of 4 films, and I'm talking about today the final 2 films from that set, Detective Story and The Garment Jungle. Awesome. So we'll talk about the detective story first. This is a 1080p presentation of the film. Stars Kirk Douglas, Eleanor Parker, and William Bendix. I don't know those guys, but I know Kirk Douglas, obviously. This was so good. This was really good. I think this was my favorite. As much as I liked, Alias Nick Beale, I like this one a lot more. Now, it follows Kirk Douglas's character at a New York police station. Obviously, he's a detective. And it goes over about 24 hours, and it's essentially all set in the police station. So they do venture off a little bit, but it is essentially just all in that police station. And I love that. I love those almost one room, one set movies, and that spans over just like a few hours or a day or something like that. I really like that because a lot can happen in 24 hours, and a lot fucking does happen in this. At the start, it's very sort of lighthearted and jovial, and you get a bunch of rando characters coming in into the police station that have done, they've broken the law, even as minuscule as it is, but it's still, it's essential to the story, and it's just awesome how those characters interact with everybody, because there was always something going on. So I found myself like looking here and here and all over the screen because there was always something going on. They interacted with each other so well. There was one scene in particular where Kirk Douglas, as you come into the police station, there's like one of those cowboy doors, that you can flick. It's only one, so not like 2, but it was just the one, like swinging door, and people were just fucking going in and out through that door, just going, no care of who was in the way or whatever. And there was one scene where there was just a basic sort of beat cop just bent over with his sort of back to it. And as Kirk Douglas' character went slamming through there, or he ran through there, walked through there pretty fast, and the door was going to swing. The copper just puts you can't see me, but the copper, without breaking a beat, just doing his little extra work on the side there, he just puts his foot up. Can't really see, but he just puts his foot up and blocks it from hitting him. It was it was awesome. I thought, oh, that was really clever, because he just kept doing his little thing. He just popped his foot up, and that was great. But yeah, as I said, it starts out sort of very jovial, very sort of lighthearted. But then the main sort of story is Kirk Douglas is trying to bring down this doctor, or ex-doctor, that had allegedly murdered a bunch of Sheilas, and he knows he did it. The police captain knows he did it, but they got no proof, and Kirk Douglas has just got the proof. He's finally got the proof that he needs, but shit keeps happening, and the proof becomes no good. So that's the main story, and it's just about Kirk trying to basically bring this guy to justice. Now, the doctor ends up hiring this fancy new lawyer and surrendering himself. So he's got a plan as to why he's done all this, and it turns out that Kirk Douglas's wife has got something to do with it that he didn't know about, and it's this that really brings out the real Kirk Douglas and his, I can't think of his name. It's annoying. I think it's Joe. There's a Joe in there. We'll just call him Kirk. But it really brings out his true character and how, he's not a bad person, but he wears too much of the world's problems on his shoulders, and he just wants to try and, he made a mistake in his early days of being a detective, and he's just trying to always rectify that and just make up for that. And by just being the meanest, hardest cop, but doing it in the right way. It is set in it was made in 1951, so I'm guessing it's set, around then anyway. So it is certainly a little bit different compared to now. They're always smoking, and then they say, where do we put it? Just put it on the floor. And then the guy puts it on the floor, and he goes, step on it. So it's like, you can put it on the floor, just make sure you step on it. It's really, really good. Now, there are a lot of other characters that come into it. There's some, like, there's that Sheila at the start that's sort of her comedic character. She stole a bag worth like $6 or something like that. So they don't really give a fuck. They're just coppers just like, well, now you've just given me all this paperwork. You're probably going to be let off, but you've got to stick around and do all this sort of shit. It's just a side character, but she does interact with all the main characters. And then you've got a sort of another main character that comes in, a sort of a young kid from ex-Navy. He steals like $400 to try and win back his love that he's loved for like 5 years or some shit. And you know, he's a good kid. He just fucked up, and Kirk is gonna have none of it. He's like, nah, we're gonna be fucking throwing the book at you. And then there's like two professional like cat burglars, two professional burglars. Hilarious. Their performance, especially the main guy of the two, over the top, just unreal. And the fact that he kept that character the whole time was very, very impressive. The acting of these guys, because there's always something going on, they just kept in character for the entirety of the movie. And as a very, very, very amateur actor myself from years ago, I know how hard that can be. And I know I struggled with it at first, but these guys killed it. It was a very, very, very entertaining movie. You see Kirk's character really sort of struggle with everything that's going on over that 24 hours, and you just see him sort of descending into almost madness, but just, you know, he's just losing it towards the end. And the ending was it was a good ending. I don't want to say much about it because it was just a good ending. It was a ending that this movie sort of needed, and I really, really, really enjoyed this film. It's definitely gonna be high up on the rewatch like value because of everything that's going on in it. Bloody fantastic. So yeah, Detective Story, definitely check this one out if you haven't seen it. This one, I know I mentioned, God, maybe I should just not talk in these and just mime everything. I mentioned in my last video about the film noir series how I had a different thought in my mind of what film noir was, and this to me is what film noir is. Detectives with some mobsters and stuff like that, even though there's not really mobsters, but there's kinda. But yeah, this felt like a film noir film to me, so that's probably why this is my favorite. The next one, The Garment Jungle, which is another presentation, 1080p presentation of the film. This was full screen, not widescreen. This was full screen. So from 1957, I don't know like I'm not a technical. I don't know the technical side of things, but I don't know how they do that when it comes to movies from this age, because I just assumed that everything was shot. I mean, it probably was shot on like 16:9, like film. I don't know. I always just assumed it was 4:3, but I have no idea. But anyway, it was full screen. It looked great. Looked fantastic. This one was just 4:3. Just let me have a look at the aspect ratios. They don't really say. Yeah, I mean, it says 1.33 to 1, and then this is 1.85 to 1. Yeah, I really don't understand that sort of stuff. I probably should, but anyway. This wasn't too bad. If I'm being honest, it was a little bit boring. Essentially set, I would assume that it's set when it was made in 1957 in New York, in the garment industry, like in the garment section of New York. Now, I do know a little bit about how sort of brutal and cutthroat the garment section was back then. I don't know how true to it, like this movie is, to how it really was. But essentially, it's this guy who owns this massive company. Hang on a sec. Excuse me. Essentially, it's this guy that owns this pretty successful company, but it's not union. So it's about the union. I'm guessing they're only sort of just new on the scene. Like it's the sort of the birth of the union. Excuse me. Like the workers' union. So they're trying to get all the garment companies in the union. It's like all or nothing, essentially. So you've got this guy who represents the union, who's going above and beyond, trying to to get this main guy from, is it Roxbury? I can't think of the fucking name of the company. One of the biggest companies anyway, but he's trying so hard to get this company, because pretty much if they get this company, then they'll all, all of them will probably follow suit. But this company's paying like a mobster boss protection money, and has been for 15 years. And by paying him this money, this mob boss is stopping the union people from coming in and taking over, essentially. And this guy doesn't want to. He's very oblivious to what the mob boss is doing. I think he knows what the mob boss is doing with murder and killing and all that sort of stuff. Well, I guess the same thing, but murder and beatings and bashings and all that sort of stuff, and intimidation. But he doesn't want to believe it, because he just really doesn't want the union to come in and take over his business that he created from scratch, basically. And he's not a bad guy. He's just, I don't know. He's not really a bad guy. But then the main boss's, the main character's son comes into it, and he starts to like side with the union, and then it's like a big war, and you can pretty much guess exactly what's going to happen. As soon as you see a character, you know what's going to happen to that character. So it's very, very predictable. The only thing that didn't happen that I thought was going to was the son was going to have sex with was going to smash his dad's girlfriend or something. But that didn't happen. Instead, he smashed somebody. Well, I'm pretty sure he would have at some point in that film. Somebody else, which is pretty obvious. But I mean, everything. Yeah, it's a very predictable movie. Worth a watch at least once. It only goes for an hour 28, and it felt like it went for longer than Detective Story. And Detective Story went for an hour and 43, and this flew by. It was very, very interesting. This one, yeah, not so much. But it was, I'm glad I watched it at least once, because it was interesting, that whole union versus like non-union thing, and how that sort of happened back then. So if this is a pretty accurate representation, which I'm sure some of it was, of how it happened back then, and just to see how big the garment industry was back then, because I've read a couple of books that mention it, like they're not about the garment industry, but they mention it sort of as like a side thing going on back then, and I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, not bad. Overall, definitely this one, and Alias Nick Beale. The other two, Framed and The Garment Jungle, still worth a watch, 100% worth a watch, but probably not going to rewatch these anytime soon. But that's it, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below which one of these you like, if you've seen any of them. Yeah, tell me what you think, because I'm generally interested in knowing. Let's start a discussion. Let's do this. Anyway, be kind to one another, be safe, be happy, enjoy your movies, and yeah, thank you so much for checking these out, because I know they're not the best. But, cheers. Oh, and Merry Christmas, because as of uploading this video, tomorrow is Christmas Day in Australia, so have a very Merry Christmas if that's something you do. If not, have a merry whatever that you do.